What he's saying here is, if we won't worship the Creator, we will worship creation. That's what Paul is showing us here. He starts by saying, professing to be wise, and that's always where it starts, isn't it? A generation rises up and claims to have enlightened insight, superior intellect, advanced understanding. They dismiss God as outdated, irrelevant, unknowable. They claim to have moved past him. But what does the Apostle Paul say? He says they've become fools. In the very act of exalting human reason above divine revelation, they descend into foolishness. Not foolishness in the eyes of the world, but foolishness in the eyes of God. True wisdom begins with what? The fear of the Lord. Without that, what remains is a tragic parody of wisdom. Empty philosophies, self-serving ideologies, a system of thought that glorify man and minimize God. Paul says they've changed the glory of the incorruptible God into an image. We'll just pause there. This is the essence of idolatry. They trade the infinite for the finite. They trade the Creator for the creature. They trade the glorious for the perishable. People who reject the incorruptible God begin to worship images of man. Then animals, then birds, then creeping things. This is not just a theological downgrade. This is a moral collapse. Now, we may think that this is just ancient paganism. I mean, he's just talking about statues and altars and golden calves. But idolatry is not limited to ancient cultures. It's very much alive today. Look around. When you see people that reject God, they refuse to worship their God or were thankful, what do they begin to bow their hearts to? Success, money, sex, power, entertainment, politics, self. The modern world is full of sophisticated idol worship. It may be digital instead of carved. It may be cultural instead of religious, but it's the same sin. It's giving the affection, honor, and loyalty that belongs to God to something else. And let's not miss Paul's point here. This is the fruit of rejecting God. When people suppress that truth, when they're pushing truth away, they refuse to glorify Him, they harden their hearts, they don't become secular. Nobody becomes secular. They become idolaters, is what they become. Everyone worships. The only question is who or what will receive that worship. Look, and this we need to get from Romans 1 here. Romans 1 reminds us that God doesn't just judge idolatry. Idolatry itself is a judgment. When God gives people over to worship false things, it's a sign that their hearts have already turned away from the truth. John MacArthur once preached a sermon that was really good, titled When God Abandons a Nation. It was one of the most chilling things I've ever listened to. Because judgment comes. Idolatry is prevalent. And he used this text to show this. When God gives people over to worship false things, it's a sign that their hearts have already turned away from the truth. This is why the gospel is so vital. Because the gospel is not just about forgiveness, it's about restoring true worship. It turns us from idols to the living God. From created things to the glorious Creator. From darkness to light.